Okay, in this video we're going to talk about the dates and dates functions, right, in Make. And it's really important to understand several base concepts because that will be super important in basically everything that you will do with the dates in Make. So first of all, we will start with your account, right? So we have the account where is your name here and profile. So if you open this will show you your profile, and here you have a section to set your time zones. There is two settings, or like two time zones that you can select. You technically should be able, yeah, so that's currently in Make. It sets in two places, so this will be the time zone and the places where you set it. So we have a web, which is the output of your modules. So we see the dates, right, like in here, which is we call kind of visual or user or representation or UI representation, and we have some system data that is kind of either like kind of raw data or raw data. It's a thing that the system uses internally. It's not kind of something that the intended user to see here, because the interface created in Make for kind of be more user friendly, and it's a low code tool, right? And so that's again, this is web time zone setting. This is something that you will see as a user. So means any date that will be parsed and any date time, because it's important to understand what is date and date time. So date is just a date, right? But usually we mean a date time, which is date plus at some time, and also like before like AM, PM, before noon, afternoon. And this is the regular representation which Make gives a customer. Means a month, like a month, then a date like this, the comma, year, and so on. So this is kind of user-friendly representation for it. And this exactly the place where we will see this settings, means our time zone. Means I will go and select the email in here, and this, what you see in here, this is time them. This is actually is ISO 8601. So this is international format that uses most of the servers, like probably 90 something percent, 95 or so, to work with the date times. Another popular format will be the Unix timestamp. This is just seconds or milliseconds. But if you have like the year, month, and time, and so, not the Unix timestamp, this will be probably ISO 8601. You may Google it to see how it looks like, right? So 8601. So this is the format, and one of the representations, the most common, will be 3. It's actually 2 here, or it's no milliseconds. It should be usually that's format where we have times, seconds, and then milliseconds, and then a time zone. So there are a bunch of like a sub settings or parts or specification for even the same ISO 8601, but we usually speak about this format, which is most common. So year, day, month, year, month, day, right? Then T as a kind of separator for time. And here we start with the time with it 24 hours, here 24, the minutes, and seconds, these columns, right, and dot, and 3 digits, the milliseconds, and Z means UTC time zone. So this daytime or date and time comes always in UTC time zone, which is the zero displacement from the Greenwich meridian, And so that's allow us and servers, right, understand and have the same common format. And then when we run this, right, we have the same date that we saw here, which was 3 a.m., right, of 28th. It's 3 a.m. in Greenwich Meridian. So currently I'm in EST time zone. So for me, it should be like 4 or 5 hours, depending on a winter time. This is another factor that you should, winter and the summertime, right, that you should include. So it looks like a 4 hours difference, right, I have right now from EST. If I will run it, I will get this. But we will figure out why it shows 8 p.m. instead of 11 that I have here. It's just because, as I said before, I set my time zone for web, and this is the web, right? So this is what means by web. It's set to PST, which is Pacific time zone, not the Eastern. It means 3 hours different from my time, right? So technically, this was recent email that I sent, and if I would set my time zone correct accordingly to my time, right, that should show us 11 something. We may just go and send a new email to be more specific. Test 2, and send. So I just sent it, and it was again. It was 11:39. Okay, so I go to my inbox to check it. So you see 3:39, and if I run it, I will have 8 something, right? 8:39, just because my web set to PST. So I will return it back to my EST, right, to match. But that's something that should show you the difference, right? Because you might work with the customer's account, let's say, right? And you should always understand that date, time, is something we can actually find, right? So New York, right? Time zone, I'm going to set it, and you should understand that system will try to convert any date that it got as a raw data here to your time zone, right? So we got this in UTC time zone. It's a 3:39 of 28th of April, right? But it converted it for me as a previous day, because there is no 28th in here. It's still like close to midnight, but it's still 27th, right? So that's what you need to understand, right? And now, as soon as I set it to my time zone, that will match, and if I will run it, that will return me correct one. Okay, let's see. So we have also scenarios. Okay, so after reload, it shows me correct, right? So I reload the scenario and it shows me correct time zone. So this is the web, and this the web setting, right, for our account, right? Because I set my account, the whole account, whatever organization I have, right? My account will always convert the dates into my time zone. So you should remember it. So your output that you see, it has no any like a relation to things that you literally have, because this will be some format for UTC time zone, right? So this will be the UTC time zone, and you will see something that system already converted for you, for your convenience, and returned your output accordingly to your time zone, okay? The second setting that we have here is specific for scenarios. And as you see, I have several organizations and my work, which we currently at right now, set to, again, to PST. So I'll show you the difference in my dates. So I set here for parseDate, and this is actually the topic of our thing, the parse and formatDate functions, right? But before we start, we have to understand it, how the account set is a format, right, that we use to parse our date. So I have a simple text, right, just like this, which is 02/02/2022, which means like February 2nd, right? And I have 12:01, so I intended to set it like PM, like 1 past 12, and it's like almost noon, like 1 minute past noon. And I'm going to parse it using the parseDate function. So we have two of them. They are opposite. So parse, as all parses in make, converts something to a format that usually a function intended that has in a function name, like a parse number or parseDate. So it intended to convert something into date in this case. Again, by date we mean that format. Literally, the format is this. So you should remember that we use this format, ISO 8601, and if you will ever will see the field with a date in make, right? So you should remember and understand that you literally deal with this ISO 8601. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to parse my text to the datetime or date, right? And that should be converted in this format, and definitely we should get the UTC time zone. So the question is how exactly this will be converted, right? And what exactly time we will get for our converted date. And this where comes to play our scenario settings, right? So scenario, the time zone will be used to parsing and formatting days and times during this scenario run, and if you don't specify the time zone explicitly, okay? That means that if I will run my scenario right now, means this module at least, my text, which is this, right, will be parsed accordingly to a zone that I set for my scenarios, not this one. So means we can disregard technically this output, because again, this output is something that my system took the date in here, right, parsed it and converted the result into my time zone. That's why you might have some discrepancy, right? Because what literally happened right now, my system takes this and parses this as a Pacific time zone date and time, right? So it assumes that is noon of Pacific, which is 8 hours difference, I believe 7, because it's a summertime, right? And we will Google it right now about the summer times also, but that's something that you should have. It's DB DZDB time zones, TZDB, so time zones database, list of time zones in Wikipedia will show you the complete list of all these guys. So we work with these names in here, and we have the it calls DST, day saving time, means summer time, and some of our zones have the same summer, like it doesn't switch. So if I will look at, in my case, Los Angeles, right? Los Angeles, we will have a difference to 7. So you remember with New York, which is kind of 5 hours, right? Minus of the Greenwich time, we had 4 hours difference. So in this case, we will have a 7, and now you know why, right? So we have a 7 hours difference because it's a summer time, and that time zone that we use by default for our thing in here, right, has summertime. So currently it's a summer, I mean the summertime in place. So we assume the date provided here was at noon, 1 minute after noon, right, for the Pacific time zone. That should mean that we should add +6 here, right, because our difference for a time zone, 7, right? So we should add 7 here, because when we have noon and Pacific, that means it will be 19, like 7 p.m. for the Greenwich time. And if we go to our input, this is exactly, it shows 20. Let's double check it. So 20, so it still adds 8. So am I mistaken? As you see, it's like super confusing because, you should be super careful because you may miss this 1 hour back and forth with the time zones and everything. So that still it uses the time zone that is set in our settings here, okay, and it converts it to that date. So this is important to understand. So it uses time zone from the settings of your scenario and takes this time and converts it to some value. So the most important thing from all this video that you should know and remember that this date, right, this value of variable has like a miserable relation to what you see here, because this is something that system converts and returns you as a user view. So what is technically happened, we took like 12:01, right? We added 7 hours, like 8, whatever, it still added 8. We got 20, right? So we got a 20, and then we took a 20, and because my system set to -5, right? We literally took a 20 and the make converted it back to my web view. So it took the value, right? Because it always worked with the value, and we took this value of 20 and we converted it back using -5. So we literally subtracted 5. So we got 15:01 from 20, right? So 15:01, which will be 3 p.m., right? Which equal 3 p.m. or to be exact, 3:01 p.m. And that's what shows our output in here, right? So that's how you need to read. So again, to avoid this if you can, because you potentially might have a customer or so who will have a different time zone that in setting your account, you should technically probably try to match these time zones, right? But now, after that, if you will probably rewatch it once again and test it out, you will know how exactly that system works, and you won't have troubles with the understanding of why the system showed you different time. So right now, if I will run it, I might need to reload scenario. No, this works fine. So that's what happens now, right? So I have my 12:01, right? And after parsing it, because my parseDate right now uses my time zone, which is EST, right? It converts this to 17 it literally adds 5. Yeah, so it adds 5 according to this, and it adds 5 hours, right? And then it simply converts it back, just subtracting 5 hours. So I got my time correct with no issues here, and this 12 matches this 12, right? So what you can do is to also provide a time zone as a third parameter for your parseDate. Okay, so as you see, I have 2 only parameters. So what I can say in my case to, let's say, fix that discrepancy will be my Los Angeles, right, time. So we assume I have Los Angeles time here, right? And the date, or like I have the date in different time zones, so I want to do it something differently. So I literally should say the system, okay, no, this time, it's not a Los Angeles time, right? So this is not a Los Angeles time. This time is a time of the New York. So I will go and paste the American New York from list of my dates in here, right? And we simply parse it to see what will happen, right? So right now my function says sees the this time zone, or time zone parameter says the function, please take and parse this date accordingly to this time zone. Just assume this is the time for this New York time, right? So and it takes and does what it should do, right? So it takes the input of this time zone as a 12, adds a 5 hours just because it now looks at this time zone, so it understands this is New York noon, right? It adds 5 hours, which makes it correct time, which is 17, right? And it outputs back the time from that 17 accordingly to the time I set in my VAP setting, right? Because you remember this is the VAP. So we take anything we have and we parse it to a VAP using this one. So we got this back as 12 p.m. And that's what you have to do. Like, so you see whatever time I literally will have here for my parsing, either the Los Angeles or New York, my system will just disregard this setting, right? Just because I have third parameter. So you either provide a parameter because you know that this time was taken, for example, you might have some CRM or so, or like whatever, even Google Sheet, right? Where you have your local, I don't know, Israel or Moscow or Delhi or Sydney time, right? In this just format, right? Without specifying the UTC or something, which is not converted to UTC. So what you do, you have to use your time zone specification, so time zone name literally, to convert this date. And you use this time zone list, right? So what you do and what I usually recommend to avoid this, you see we have described with the summertime and winter time. So the best recommendation will be find a time zone that is not changing during the summer and the winter. I'm not even sure if it's a summer time in place or summer time in Canada. March 13th. So potentially it should work right now, but it might depend on the settings and everything. So I really prefer to even set the account maybe, right? So and this will be probably the most correct way to do it, just to start setting your account with some time zone that where you won't be affected this crap. So let's say I know I should have -8 for my PST, right? So I will just Google it and I will find some time zone where we literally will have, it's not changeable. So for example, this, I may try to find this in make, if it has GMT. Nope. Pacific, let's try to find Mexico. Yeah, perfect. So Pacific, Pitcairn. So, and that's it. So I then just would try to find a time zone where I won't be really worry about my summertime and something that might happen. And same thing, I believe, you may find for any time zone. So let's try to find for EST. So like you see, Aticocan, the Bogota, and so on. Let's assume we in another situation. So I believe most of these guys, yeah. So you see the Antarctica, let's say. So whoever cares. So Asia has a lot of these guys, right? And so on. So you simply try to find the time zone. I believe it should be work also for the things like the +2. Yeah, so you see the Africa, Tripoli, and so that won't change. So you will never have an issue with the summer and time, and that's it. So both of your dates for web and for this can be set just like this, and this should avoid you should avoid any issues with these summer winter times. So I believe it's automatically fixed currently on make, comparing to Integromat, but it's still I would prefer to maybe set these time zones. So just test it out, and that what you need to know about dates. It was kind of pretty long, right? But that's something that you should know. The functions themselves are pretty simple. So what you need to find will be a manual also with the tokens. You just go to help, right? So you may just find them, and you go to this section. There is no reason to copy paste all these tokens. So in the functions and datetime functions, and this tokens for time parsing. You will find all tokens you need. So there are two types, for formatting and for parsing. So you can find both them here. So you remember I mentioned another common format, which is timestamp. Super simple to work with it. Just what you need to remember, it's 2 axis. So if you see the number with 10 digits or 10 digits with a dot and 3 of them after, that is seconds. So what is Unix timestamp? Or sometimes it calls EPOCH, right? So you see this pretty common EPOCH converter. That is time from 1970. So it's like from 1970 January. So they just decided we will calculate the time in the seconds, and we'll use it for the PC's convenience, because like you may understand that to work with this format way easier than with all these 34 first dates of a month and all these tags and so on. So that's just super mathematical approach to use it, right? And you just convert it back and forth to like a human date and like epoch or timestamp. So the Unix timestamp epoch format has again 2 options. So you either deal with the second, so you just calculate 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So this is seconds. If you have 3 of them, it's a milliseconds, and depending on that, you select a type of parsing token you should use. So again, I may just take this, it will be seconds. I simply calculate the length of this, like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Simple, right? So this is seconds. So for seconds, for bigger, we have bigger. For seconds, we have capital X. So if you will parse this one, you will get your date. It's a kind of current time, right? If you have 13 digits, that is milliseconds, because it can be just like this, let's say, right? And then you use a lowercase x. So super simple to do it. For the rest, you simply find the tokens, right, and match the things that you need. Let's say the full name of the, like this is the number of day of the year. The lowercase should be the name, just like this. Yeah, so you see the 3 digits, it's a shortened one. The for these, it's a full name of the day, for example. And that will help you to parse a text. If, for example, let's just go quickly back here. So if you have them date just like this, or actually you got it right. So April, for example. So you need to parse this one, because this is not the parse date. Okay, so this is kind of a text, just assume it. Even though the make should parse it by default, I believe. So what you need to remember that make will try to do it for you, and it actually can't. If you have the field, some field, for example, let's just take the air table. So if the point is like if field is a date type, right, it will always show you that message. So if you see this one, right, so system will warn you that this is date type of the field and you have to provide a date here. And system also will tell you what exactly the time zone will be used for automatic parsing of this date, right? Means if you need to add the such date into your, say, air table, right, then you have to bring it to correct format, right, just like this. And for that you need to use the tokens, because you see like my system was not able to automatically parse it. Means your field, if you will put the thing like this, system will apply exactly the same function parseDate and will try to parse it as much as possible. So what you should do, right, in this case you have to parse it with the correct tokens, right, and apply them. So we will test it in here and then we'll create a record. So I will just follow the token. So my full day name, right, will be lowercase d's. Then I have a space, right, so I just put a space. Then I have a day. It's a two d's. It's a for number of day, just pretty common regular thing, right? So dd. And then we have a comma, so I may just put a comma, will be fine. And then I have a space, so I put a space. I have a year, it's a 4 capital year, 4 digits of year. Then I have a space again. Then I have a time, it's a capital H, which you should remember. So for 24 hours we use a capital. For 12 hours we use a lowercase h. So this is important to remember. Okay, and then we go to next one will be column minutes, lowercase, for minutes. Okay, and we have space, we have space, and then we have our AM PM. So that should be the just A, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, So I do have capital, right? For my A, and that should parse the thing for me. The only one thing that we should remember that we still have the difference, right? So we said it back correctly. So my account sent correctly, and that actually shows us the Los Angeles only because I haven't reloaded the scenario yet. So if I would reload it, that would be already the New York, right? So it says the New York, it's all good. So I don't need then. There is no logic for me unless I know that this is not New York time. There is no logic for me to put New York here. I can do it, but that's kind of senseless. Okay, so let's see what happened. So we got some error. Okay, so that actually happened just because I was so fast, and I just have used wrong token. So as you see, instead of day here, I definitely need to put a month, which is capital M's, right? So because the first one definitely comes a month, not a day. So I will just replace my tokens for month, then I have a day space, then day, then comma space, then year space, hours, minute space, and my AM, PM. So, and let's just try to do it once again and make sure that we are good here. So we had our April 28th, and it's at 2 a.m., 2 past midnight, and yeah, that's it. So this looks like parse it properly. We got the same date. In fact, once again, this will be this one, right? Plus 4 hours for our EST time zone converted to UTC. So this is good. I can test it out for a quick and make sure that my, let's say, this token parse it properly. So say I have 4 p.m. Oh, sorry, the PM instead of IM, but the token still will be definitely A. So I will just run it once to see if that parse it properly, and I get 2:12 p.m. So all good, all fine. So that's how you use the parse date, and the format date works exactly the same. So format date, just opposite. So it has exactly same things, but the only thing that it should accept as a first parameter valid date, right? So you can't just put this and say formatted. So if you need to convert this to some different format, then you first need to parse it definitely, right? And then only you can format it. So I may just go and format my date. We just parse it. So let's say I just need to change this format of April 28th, blah, 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 to something like year slash month. Or let's say lovely American format, so month, right, then day, then year, and that's it. It will be just a piece of a text. As any format function, it takes something and converts it to a text, right? And let's see what will happen, right? So if I will parse it, I will get my 04, which is day, 28, and too much years, just because I was probably, yeah, you see I put 3 Y's instead of 4. That gave me an error. So right now we parse it and it works just fine. So that's how you guys work with the dates in make and with the dates parse and format functions. So these fields in what I want to mention quickly, these fields with the operators, you should remember while you work with the date time, right? So you should use date time comparison rules, means earlier, later, date. So you either take the correct day format. This is not correct day format. Again, if you put in here, system will try to parse it accordingly to the settings you have in your profile, right? So you should apply all possible measurements such as parse, date, right, and provide the correct tokens and everything. If you think, or if you test it and the system was not able to parse it as you need, because system will first try to parse it. Same as our Airtable, which actually also here, and we was intended to add a record. So let's just quickly do it to finish our stuff with the date. So let's run it. We got our date, and our input was in exactly what we need. So it was 12 p.m. plus 4 hours, 16. So all good, all fine, and our record created. So you see the format we accepted was 12 p.m. exactly as we have in our input. So hope this helps you when you will work with the dates, and you will never miss the things and concepts on how the make works with the dates after this video.